Hello, my name is Jeffrey Zielinski. I am co-founder of the Serviceberry Group and host of our Branch Network podcast. Very excited for today's conversation. We have maybe one of my new best friends, Renee Courtwright, on with me. You've done some wonderful work, but today we're here to talk about travel in particular. I think it might be, hopefully, the first of a few different topics you and I talk about. Renee, thanks for being on, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
I'm really excited to, partner with you and talk about all the different things. And tonight we're going to try to stick to travel. Um, so I am a mother of three. I have two special needs children and one neurotypical child. So my special needs children right now are 22 and 17 years old. And I have been taking them on trips to Disney World, oh God, since my oldest was three. So my daughter wasn't even born at the time when we started these adventures. And then over the course of time, I decided that since I was going to be home with them and Disney was what I loved, I fell into the Disney travel business. And that's sort of like my side hustle for right now. For the last
Nice.
about 10 years, I've been helping families plan their magic for all things Disney. I really specialize in Florida and Disney World, but
Sure.
I've helped families with all different Disney destinations, including, the cruises and Disneyland and Aulani and Hawaii. So it's really great. It's something that I love because I've always loved Disney, and
Sure.
I love because as a special needs parent, it's a place where my kids feel very much at home,
Mhm.
and they love it. They're able to be happy and carefree and just what everybody wants for vacation with their family. So since we can get that there, we just keep going.
I love it. I certainly was a Disney holic the first time I went, which was I think in my mid 20s. It's actually the first time I flew on a plane, believe it or not. But before we go too far, if you would indulge me for just a second.
Yeah.
So, for people watching, you and I met almost accidentally. I guess is maybe how I would define it. So our at-home team, the case manager for my son, when we were telling her a little bit about this sort of platform that we want to build and the 50 million different topics that we wanted to go through, I thought traveling with children or people with special needs and disabilities might be an important topic because, again, we've both lived it. And she said, I have the perfect person for you. And, we met over some text messages and phone calls. And I think I probably expected to talk to you for maybe 15, 20 minutes and wound up being a 2 hour long phone call. So I'd like to thank you, not only for taking time to, talk with me about this and perhaps some other topics in the future, but just listening to your story, listening to the work that you've done, that you continue to do, the amount of energy, resources that you have dedicated for the betterment of this community, people that are on this journey, people like me and my wife, Patty, the families that we intend to serve and make an impact with. I mean it when I say that it really gives us such a sense of peace and of happiness knowing that people like you are out there. Not just saying it, but really putting in the work. And I'll be honest, we had a flame in our heart to do this work. You poured jet fuel on it. You have made it an absolute mission critical for us to make sure that we're putting our money where our mouth is and making an impact. And I want to thank you because in the episode we actually just did, I talked about gratitude, and I want to make sure that that's genuine and that that we really sincerely appreciate people like you beyond measure. So
Oh,
I want to get that out of the gate.
that's really kind, and I appreciate it. But I have to say, like, everything that I do, eh, no matter what, I do it as a team with my husband, and I couldn't do it without him. And not to say that if you're a single parent and you're out there that you can't do it, but we all need like supports, and whoever your support person
Yep.
is, engage them, pull them in, because there isn't one of us that can do it alone. So we all need each other.
Yeah.
So, your information is just as valuable to me as mine may be to you. And both of our stories may be to
Sure.
somebody else. Like, we're all learning from each other,
Right.
because I think the one thing that we all share is how different all of our children are. There's
Yes.
no two alike. Even the two that are in my house, they're both genetically the same. You've got siblings, different,
Yeah.
different, 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 different.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
should have
with my
pointed it out,
kids.
you and your family, because you did, you all are very involved. But again, I mean it. I mean it sincerely. Everything that you and your family have done is not unnoticed. So what I thought might make sense is just to talk a little bit about just travel on its own.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you from where my wife and I sit now, we've been together since we were teenagers. So we've had sort of, I guess, a unique experience traveling all over. I've traveled a bit for work, and there was opportunities before we had kids for her to come with me, so we got to go to different destinations just by virtue of my work travel. But I'll tell you, the importance of travel for me is probably infinitely long. But I think the two things that I would call out are, one, obviously, the ability to bond. My wife and I have traveled so many different places. We've been to Disney more times than I can count. She was the first Disney-holic and kind of got me into it by default. It almost felt like an ultimatum, like if I didn't like it, was I the right guy? But I loved it.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
But I love it. I love it to this day. We went on our honeymoon actually,
Me
but we've been
too.
all over. We've been to Hawaii. We've been on cruise. We've kind of done it all, and honestly, it's always an opportunity for us to bond with where we're going, bond during the journey, the planning, the exercise, talking about it afterwards. Travel is really important from a bonding point of view, which is probably obvious, but something I think is really important. But also, I think the sort of experience of it, what's I think unique
Yeah.
about the United States in particular is like you can go from sea to shining sea and pass like 500 million different cultures, different states, obviously. But the experience of kind of living with the history or understanding the different cultures and kind of becoming part of it while you're there, I think is really neat. And it's just for me two of the main reasons why we love to travel. We travel with our friend Ashley, who has done some kind of a co-host now, unofficially, officially. She doesn't know it, but she's going to be.
She got the
Um,
job.
she has the job. She's hired. But she's our closest friend, and we've traveled with her to all different places, and just to be able to sort of experience again different cultures, different histories, how they tie together, how they're independent of one another, I think is always so special. And when we think about Disney World in particular, think about experiences. I don't know that there's an experience like it. I think it's always nice just to kind of get that out there. Love to hear from you. I'm sure you probably agree with some of that, but
Yeah,
um,
I mean, we had the opportunity to do just a little bit before we had the kids. But since we have the kids, basically where we go with them is either down the shore or to Disney World.
mhm.
That's it just works for us. And it's funny because people like say to me all the time, my family, like friends, like, don't you want to go somewhere else? I'm like, no, it works. Like, it's great. It works. Like, we love it. We're happy. We're just going to keep doing it. And I'm getting to see all these different countries when I go to Epcot. So I'm like, I'm good. I'm traveling the world and I only had to fly to Orlando.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll jump right into it. You actually hit it right on the head before I could even ask the question, which I love. You and I are on the same wavelength. I love it. And so, as you know, I have a child with special needs. And one thing that we talk about a lot in this group that we're forming, and certainly on the podcast, and something that we're very cognizant of is special needs is not one dimensional.
Right.
It's infinitely wide. Can you start by telling us why that on its own is important to understand?
Well, I think, and again, everything that I say is just my opinion. So, right, for what it's worth. I think that we have to look at all these special needs kids, not just in like age ranges, like, oh, pre-K kids, elementary kids, middle school, high school kids. They're they're all going to be different, even if they're in the same cluster,
Hmm.
right? Because all of those needs are just going to be there's no two alike. So it's very hard when I feel like when we talk about special needs children to speak of them with like a broad stroke
Yeah.
because you hear my friend in the back because they're so unique and they're unique moment to moment because
Mhm.
things change
Such a good point.
and we have to be able as the adults in their lives to adapt because they may not have that ability to adapt and be flexible. So we've got to be like rubber all the time
Yeah.
and willing to change with them for what it is to give them success in that moment. Because what success looks like right now might be different in an hour.
Yeah, it's so true. In fact, it's going to be the episode that we put out like within 24 to 48 hours. I even tell you, I don't think I'm coining anything that's particularly groundbreaking, but like this emotional adaptability, because no two moments are the same.
Nope.
And you know that's challenging for us, but you just hit the nail on the head. Like we have to be able, you know, to understand that in order to create an infrastructure that's, you know, conducive to their success and to be able to navigate through, you know, any
Yeah.
particular circumstance.
Because just because a strategy works right now in this
Mm,
moment today doesn't mean that strategy is going to work when the same situation comes up tomorrow.
yeah.
Might be the same kid, might be two different kids. You know what I mean? You just don't know. So you have to be able to kind of just keep changing, rolling with it, keeping your mind open to what can I try? What can I try? Like quick, like on your toes kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether we're at home doing that or we're on vacation doing that or we're just in our own communities, we have to be able to keep like adjusting, because what happens right when we're out with our children? We feel like we're on stage.
Mm,
Right. And I know, especially when I was a younger mom, I felt that. And if, you know, one of the kids is having a moment, I don't want to call it a meltdown because it might not be a meltdown. It just
yeah.
might be one of their like moments that they're struggling with. But now we're having that out in public. Oh God, what could be worse? You know,
Yeah.
and as a young mom when they were little, like that was very hard. Now as an older mom and the kids have gotten older, I have more tools in my toolbox
Sure.
to deal with that. Not that it makes it easy or fun, because it's
100%.
not. And when you have a child who, to the outside world, right? I say like the wrapping paper looks
Mm,
just like all the other wrapping paper. And, you know, people are like judgy, like, oh, I wonder why that kid's acting like that. They don't understand what's under the wrapping paper,
yeah.
but we do.
You kind of just hit the nail on the head, and perfect segue into, I think you already answered half of the question, but like the differences, not even just, you know, in personality, but differences in the moments, you know, moment by moment, day by day, having to have adaptability as it relates to success and helping navigate that journey. You know, with travel in particular, I think again you probably answered some of this, but like, why is that important on top of it from just like even a travel point of view? I have my experiences. I'm glad to tell you some of them, but be glad to get your point of view on that.
Right, we all have our stories, and they're, and now we could laugh at them, but at the moment they're not funny. Right, when they're happening, they're not funny. um Well, what I think is the most important thing with the adaptability piece, especially for traveling, right, is that you have a plan, right?
Mm,
You have to start with a plan, because I firmly believe that our kids, when I say our kids, I mean special needs kids, that our kids work better. They have more success when there is a plan in place.
I
Now, it
agree.
doesn't mean that I'm going to be rigid with that plan, because that's the one thing that I've learned is that if I'm too rigid with my plan, it's going to fall apart and it's going to make the kid fall apart. But I have found that it gives my children some sense of peace and calm that there is a plan. And I have to share that with them ahead of time. You know what I mean? I don't keep that plan a secret. Let's even, and I don't care what their cognitive level is, they can be part of the process of the planning. And
Yeah.
whether it's making a visual chart or writing it in words, whatever it is, let's share ahead of time what this is going to look
Mhm.
like so that there aren't many surprises.
Yeah.
That's just going to give them ease.
So we did the exact opposite our first time at Disney. And we're Disney people, right? So we did what every parent, you know, special needs or not special needs, we did what every parent shouldn't do. And we tried to pack every single thing into every single second. And we learned very quickly that it just wasn't going to work. And I'll be honest, the first couple days were probably fine. You know, it was, you know, just kind of letting bygones be bygones, navigating. But I'll tell you, and I don't need to explain to you, but Disney being so high sensory, it was pretty quick that we were like, all right, we gotta make a pivot here. And what we started to do, something that was really useful for us, was actually identifying, I don't know what they call them, like their medical centers or where they
Yeah,
have
they
those.
call them baby care centers,
Sure, yeah.
but they're not really baby. Anybody could go. Like if you need a Band-Aid and you're 47, go.
Yeah.
They just call it a baby center.
It was a
That's what it says
great
on the map. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it was a
Mm,
great place for us to go. It was
yeah.
air conditioned. There was a place to lay down, kind of put like a, blanket over his eyes, have a cup of water. And we did that a good number of times for the remainder of the trip. But it kind of goes back to what you said before. Like, first of all, he was our first. This was our first time to Disney, and we just felt like, hey, let's give him the world, and what could go wrong, and we learned pretty quickly, and it was a lot of things. Look, you're in Disney, I guess even in California, but I'm talking about Florida. Like it's hot.
Yep.
There's crowds, there's lines, there's noise, there's lights, there's music, there's smells. And that's the reason that you go, but it's also part of the thing that we learn, like easy for me to say, we have to create, a structure such that we absorb these things so that he can enjoy them as much as we are.
Yeah, it's
Um,
part of what overloads them.
Bingo.
The magic.
Right, right. Um,
But the one thing that I do want to do though, Jeff, is I want to just like back up a little bit
yeah,
to flying with our kids.
perfect. Because I was going to ask you about that.
Okay. So before we get to Disney, we got to fly to Disney, right? And
Hmm.
I had a family recently within the last year that I worked with, and this was their child's first flight. And the child has, a lot of anxiety and things like that. And they were like, oh my God, like, do you have any tips? And my suggestion to that family was YouTube is the best thing ever. Okay.
Mm,
Because we could take a lot of the unknown away with YouTube. I said to mom, I said, what if you sit down with your child and you watch a YouTube video, which is one of those like airline, like the safety procedures that they do when you get on the flight so that the child doesn't get upset when the flight attendant is going over, "Oh, this is how the mask drops down and you're going to put it this way over your face. And this is what we do with, the life preserver." And I said, so this way you can talk through, you could hit pause on the video. And even if the child isn't absorbing everything that you're saying, they're seeing it. They're seeing mom or dad's demeanor. This is
mm.
just what we do. This is what we talk about. Even the same thing with like TSA, with the security checkpoints. Giving them those videos ahead of time to show them this is what it looks like. This is the uniform that the person's going to wear at the airport. And they're going to
I love
check us.
that.
Now, like my daughter, not my son, but my daughter has cochlear implants. So she has metal implanted into both sides of her skull. She can't go through the metal detector. She has to have a pat down. So if your child is in that kind of a situation, you might want to explain to them ahead of time. The person in the uniform is going to, like touch your body. Mom or dad is going to be right there next to you watching. So this takes a lot of that unknown stress away.
Yeah, it creates familiarity. I'm so glad you brought up the TSA thing. So I use Clear. I travel for work, so I use Clear, kind of get through some of these things quicker. And the first time we traveled as a family with Clear, and I don't know if this is something they do consistently, but I'd like to call it out. And my son, he's verbal, but at the time, the use of speech wasn't great. And my wife and I were stone cold because they were asking him like, oh, who's that?
Yep.
And he was in a thing where he was asking us candidly, like, oh, are you my mom? Are you my dad? And I think that was his way of trying to really, because with him, like he needs constant
Right. And you want
reinforcement
to
of
like
things.
say, oh my God, they're going to think
Yeah.
I'm making this
And,
kid, right?
and
Like it's terrible. I know.
before I could even think of it, the gentleman from Clear just doing his job, it's like, hey, who is this guy? And all we can think of was, oh no.
Yep.
He might not know how to answer that. Now, of course, I'm sure I could have probably explained, like, look, this is what's going on here. But I love what you're saying, creating that sense of familiarity, kind of going through the steps. Not that they're going to, get each and every single one right along the way, but to give them that sort of feeling of this
Yeah.
is what's going to happen. This is how we want to address these things. Don't worry. Kind of give them that piece. That's such a good point because we encountered that, and it was Patty and I that we were like, oh no, this is not good.
Right. What do we do? And those kinds of things, what's great is do it more than once.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because what's the key with most of our kids? Repetition.
Yeah.
It's a video. All we have to do is hit a button. You do it more than once. It's like, it's just great. You have it at your fingertips. Is today a good day? Okay, we're doing well today. Everybody looks good. Let's do it today. Today's a horrible day. We are so not doing that today. Like, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? And you just gauge it.
Yeah.
And so also with airline security, there is this program. It's been around for a long time. It's called TSA Cares.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, so, all right, and let me even take a step back. I
Sure.
usually fly JetBlue just because that's what I have points for, and I like
Yep.
JetBlue. My husband has leg room. It works, right? But when I book a JetBlue flight, there's like a drop down, and I could select cognitive disability on my child's ticket. So they know the person sitting in, 17A has a cognitive disability. For my daughter, I can even also take it one step further and I could check off cognitive disability and deaf. So
Mm.
that, okay, now we've identified that. So it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
anytime we can identify it, it helps the flow of things, right? So then there's TSA Cares. What that is, it's supposed to be for all airports in the United States. I haven't flown on all airports, but that's what they say. And you
Sure.
call ahead of time. It has nothing to do with the airline. And you call ahead of time. You give them all of your flight information, what airport you're leaving from, what airport you're going to, same thing for your return flights home. You give them all your flight information. You explain to them, my child has a disability, and they will sometimes offer you like a disability agent who will meet you at
Sure.
security. I've had times where we've gotten to the airport and they're like, oh no, you have your own person. They're coming to you. And they walked us through, like held our hand
Mm.
through the security process. Then I have times where they're like, yeah, guess what? We're shorthanded. Sorry, it's not happening today. But it does exist. So when it does work, it's fabulous. It's worth a try. What
Yeah.
I've seen online too, I've read, I think they have it in some of the Florida airports where they will even give the child like a distinctive lanyard. I think it's a yellow
Yeah. I've
lanyard.
seen those. Yes. Yep.
So that it can identify. It's like, when you're at work and you have your lanyard on, they know that you belong there. Well, they know that this person has disabilities and I'm not going to rile them up
Yeah.
because it's just a way to say, hey, let's use extra kindness.
Yeah. My friend Ashley, who again, has been hired, but she's our closest friend. She's a stroke survivor.
Oh,
And she has a lanyard. I believe it's a sunflower to
mm-hmm.
kind of indicate,
Yeah.
sort of an unseen disability.
Yeah.
At the surface, you wouldn't be able to tell, I guess you could say. So that's a way to identify that, she
So
has a
these,
certain sense.
it's just so big. It's like a huge help for the
Yeah.
kids. You know what I mean? Anything we could do to make it go smooth. So
Hmm.
that's kind of like the airport thing. And I always say to families, talk about the airport as much as you can. Tell them, like, we may have to wait. And waiting is really hard. Waiting is hard for us.
Sure it is.
So if your flight's delayed, you're like, okay, this could be the end of the world right now. But have different things, like have your own bag of tricks. So, I mean, because we all take stuff on the plane for the kids to do, but now that, there's a screen on the back of the seat in front of you and you don't have to take as much, but take stuff because if you're delayed and you're at the airport, oh my God, what are we going to do? Let's whip out an old school coloring book. We've got the crayons. You know what I mean? Maybe it's one of those like little travel connect fours or something like that. And even
Yeah.
if you don't use that at the airport or on your flight time, there might be downtime during your trip, wherever your trip may take you, that those things may just come in handy for like decompression time.
Yeah. Thinking about the airport, I don't want to kind of go out of order here, but we had an experience at the airport actually when we came home. And in hindsight, I think what you're saying really could have helped. It was actually with the luggage carousel, and our son was convinced this was a ride.
Oh no.
And
Oh
so
no.
it created, a good deal of stress. I left with blood rolling down my forearm.
Oh my God.
But it was just,
Yeah.
again, I think in hindsight, it was just unfamiliarity. It was just not knowing what this thing is. It's just a big, we just came back
Yeah.
from Disney World, and people are kind of walking up to this thing and it's going around in circles. And so I think, again, hindsight always being 2020, had we maybe spent a little bit of time like, okay, this is what, and look, these things are sometimes easier said than done. I'll be the first to admit it.
Yeah.
But getting into a process where you're able to kind of break these things down item by item, I probably could have helped maybe avoid some of that undue trauma.
I'm having like images in my head of this like happening.
Yeah.
Poor thing. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh my God.
But it goes back to your point. It's not just, an incident at the luggage carousel. It's here we are, first time parents, throwing a kid over my shoulder. You feel like you kind of get all the eyes and stuff. It's uncomfortable. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable.
And I always say the kids recover from those situations.
Oh yeah.
Like, real quick, they're fine. They're done. And you're like, but wait, I didn't move on yet. Like you've moved on, but I haven't moved on. I'm not over it. Like,
oh yeah.
It scars us for so long.
I still think about it.
Yeah.
It's 3 years later. If I may take a little bit of a pivot, and again, conversation, go any direction. I could talk to you for probably 3 hours.
I know we can do this for days.
I know. We'll save it for another episode. But something I was thinking about, put it in the notes, is like, travel is not just vacation and leisure, right? It's getting in the car. I don't say driving down the beach because I guess that's a vacation, but it's, sitting on the highway for a couple hours. You're stuck in traffic. Sometimes travel is just getting in the car and going to Target. And even that is met with resistance, challenges. Again, professional experience, life experience, maybe the latter is more important. I'd love to just get your thoughts on thinking about travel as just a part of everyday life too.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just an extension of what you said about the preparation piece, but just thinking about that through the lens of this community.
Well, what my daughter is much more time and schedule oriented than my son. Even though my son can appreciate a schedule, my daughter is like,
Sure.
She goes to my calendar, she's checking it. Like, yeah, I mean, oh my God. So one of the things that, and I learned that early on, that was just part of who she was. So, okay, now it's like, everything is like a Disney scenario for me, right? So I'm going to relate it to Star Wars. It's like, okay, we need to use these forces for good. You know what I mean? We're not going to use these powers for evil. And okay, so how can we do this? Okay, well, we're going to go to Target at 10 and we're going to be back home by 12. And I always overestimate it because if I underestimate it, I just shot myself in the foot.
Trouble.
And mom has a list. Here's my list. This is what's on it. Maybe she could read it at the time, or maybe she couldn't, but she could see, and she'll count it. And she'll be like, okay, you have 8 things. Yep, there's 8. I might get 9, but we definitely need 8.
Very deliberate.
I set the parameters almost like before. And she'll ask, like, do I get to pick something today? 1, maybe the next trip. No, we did it the other time. This time, none, only what's on the list. Set your expectations before you even leave the house. So if we're going to have a behavior or a moment, let's have it at home where we're comfortable. Not letting them know in the store, no, I'm not buying you that toy. Your birthday's in a week and we're not buying that right now. I even went as far, so my daughter has a November birthday. It's like Thanksgiving. So between that and Christmas, oh my God, it's like so hard, right? Yeah. I told her Target was closed in November and December. I said, it's just closed. Like, sorry. Like, the stores, and my friends were like, oh my God, that's so mean. You really made your kid think that Target closes for these months. And I'm like, look, I had to survive. It was the only way to do it. So, like, whatever you need
survival.
To do.
Right.
But I try, and that for her, because she's so routine and scheduled.
Hmm.
Like, okay, I know about how long I have to be in the store. So she knows, got to try to hold myself together. Can I hold it together for that long? Like, and one day you might, and the next day you might not. And she'll ask me when we're there, like, what time is it? And I'll say, oh, we've got a little more time to go, and you use that almost like when you're using like a timer if you're trying to shape a
Yeah.
behavior at home. So it's that
I was
same
thinking about it,
premise.
actually. Yeah.
It all kind of, things always seem to tie back to like basic strategies that we use with our kids, right?
Yeah.
And even those strategies, if you're waiting on a line for a ride, right? Maybe it's on the boardwalk down the shore. Maybe it's in Disney World. Okay, looks like we're going to wait about 20 minutes here. Do we know what 20 minutes is? Okay, well, maybe we can do 3 songs and then you're moving it along and you're kind of chunking things for them. Even the way that we do in school, we're going to make it like, here's a little chunk. We're going to celebrate the success of that chunk. Now we're going to move to the next one. And that's just how, even if you're in a restaurant, okay, we ordered, now we have to wait. They're cooking our food. What should we do while we wait? Want to play tic-tac-toe on the placemat? Whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to Disney World a little bit here. So something that we're pretty steadfast on with the Serviceberry group is community. I probably talk about it in every other sentence. And one of the things that we think, creates community is that sort of sense of belonging. And I want to go back to something you actually kind of opened with, which was you mentioned like sometimes it's not a meltdown, it's just they're going through their things. And I can remember vividly, again, this was our first trip at Disney, so we were just ill-equipped, lack of experience, trying to fit everything in. And we felt like there was just all eyes were on us. What's that saying? You feel alone in a crowded room. You go through this where these meltdowns or whatever you want to call them, this behavior is happening constantly. You can't get from point A to point B with some sort of getting on your knee, trying to bring the sensory levels down. And we were kind of just figuring it out along the way. And, we figured it out. And with a dose of magic and bravery, we did the trip again the following year. But we had a little bit more mojo. We learned more. We knew some of the planning mistakes that we had made. And where I'm going with this is it turned from kind of feeling like every time this was happening that we were alone and we were sort of on a stage, vulnerable, being stared at, to actually connecting with other families, other peoples, whether it's the sort of silent head nod, you're talking to somebody online. It was kind of amazing how with a little bit of change, just in physically what we're doing, change in a perspective, all of a sudden kind of cast that net of belonging. And not that we intervened with every family that was having an issue, but you connect with them and you kind of
Yeah.
have that sense of belonging. I'd love to get your point of view, because that's really important to us just as a group, but from a experiential point of view, from a travel, Disney, however you're thinking about it, I think it's really important for us to have that connection, build that community, to
It's
embrace one another.
because none of us want to feel like we're the only one experiencing this, or what
Bingo.
did I do wrong to make this happen?
Bingo.
And none of us made any of these things happen. And as much as the logic side of our brain tells us that, and we know that, in the moment, it totally doesn't feel like that,
It's
right?
enormously stressful.
Oh, it's the weight of the world, right? And you've
Yes.
got, whoever, your husband, your wife, whoever your partner is that's walking this journey with you. But you need more than just that person, even sometimes, right? Just somebody that I don't have to explain 10 steps before to get you to what happened to try to get some support from you for what I need moving forward. Whereas we all get it. You don't have to explain to me the background. You don't even have to tell me that, what happened an hour before. I can feel it. I can see it in you. You're like, you know what I mean? Like we get that.
Like a sixth
And
sense.
yeah. And like we're all on the same team, and we're
Bingo.
not judging, and we're all there to support and help one another, right? And when you find that little like tribe of people, whether it's the people from your town, from your church, or maybe it was like a special needs group that you found online or something like that. They become your people, and it just makes it a little easier. They help you carry that load.
Yeah. Amen. I couldn't have said it better. And it's funny, we think we're Disney holics. We're on the same wavelength here. Like they have so many supports in place and just things to make it more accessible. And um,
Yeah.
what that has created is such a sense of empowerment for us, for my child. Like I can go through a million different examples. He wants to love dogs, but he just can't bring himself to do it. And forever he was pretty scared of the characters, but he wanted so desperately to interact with them. He wanted so desperately to get a hug from Pluto, but he was very standoffish about it. He just something about it really, kind of caused him to stand still and get a little bit shocked. But I will tell you, with the tools, the supports that we've had in place, and Disney is, I think, as good a place as it can be. Like
Yeah.
that hugging Pluto for the first time, or meeting a character that he loves. Like it gives the kids such a sense of empowerment. Getting on that roller coaster again, my son is like it's like a thrill seeker, which is amazing. But
That's
sometimes
why he liked the carousel at the airport.
that's
You know?
right. That's right. But it does. It creates such a sense of empowerment, and you could
Yeah.
apply that to travel wherever you go. Going in the waves for the first time. We have
Yeah.
this great picture of my son when he was little. We were at Cape May. This is before everything. This is like one of the first or second trips that we took as a family, after COVID. So
Oh,
talk
okay.
about an experience. Like let's just go anywhere to get out of the house, and we have this great
Right.
picture of him at Cape May in sand, and he was just like he was so uncomfortable, but it's also such a cute picture. Now like you can't stop him from running in the sand and just getting it all over. He doesn't like it, but again, this sort of sense of empowerment that travel, that Disney, that give
Yeah.
us and these kids, I think is just so important. It's so worth celebrating. Would love to hear from you, whether it's experience professionally or personally, what that has meant to you.
Well, one of the things that I love like about Disney is that they do have the disability access service. I don't know if you've done that. Have you used the program?
We did once. The
Okay.
second time, I might be getting my dates wrong here, but we went with an extended group, and so it wouldn't
Okay.
it wouldn't apply,
To
horizontally to
all of
every.
them. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. So we use it every time we go. Um, and it's changed over the
yeah,
years, but basically the premise of that is, and other places I think have different versions of it, they just kind of call them different names, right? So in Disney they call it disability access system, and what that is, it allows you to basically like skip your wait time, right? So you're going in now what's now called the lightning lane. Years ago it was fast pass, then it was
yeah,
genie plus, now it's lightning lane.
right.
It's the cut the line program, right? and and it's a free service, but you do have to apply for it and you have to be approved for it. And a lot of people over the years, as it has changed, it's gotten a little bit tighter of who they approve. You're going to find people who have a lot of complaints about it and things like that, but when it works like a charm, right? So what that does is it helps us to eliminate a wait time.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that there wasn't a wait time. So let's say
Yeah,
in
I
Disney,
remember. Yeah.
if you had the ride had a 30-minute wait time. What it is you go on the app, you say, I want to ride it's Small World. Okay, it has a 30-minute wait. It's going to tell you to come back in 20 minutes. So you have 20 minutes, you're still waiting 20 minutes, but you don't have to wait in the line. That might be when we grab an ice cream. That might be when we stop and have a bathroom break. That might be when we're, taking some crazy photo pass pictures or something like that. So you're using those 20 minutes actively. Then you get there, you get through. Okay, so that just made things flow. Flow is what it's all about, right? Because we want to
Yeah.
keep it like we just have to keep things going for them. And then when they need a break, okay, great, because you know what? We couldn't go back to that other thing for 40 minutes. So this might be a great time to go to one of those baby centers, cool down, sit in the air conditioning, get a cold paper towel and put it on their head or something, whatever the case
Mhm.
might be. And it's a great service. It's just another strategy that you get to use on a trip, right? So I always tell people, like, check it out, research it. Whether it's Disney or, Universal, SeaWorld, they have their own program too for it. But ask. Maybe it's not advertised, but if you ask about it and you know that this is your situation, you're building your toolbox of strategies as a parent for what you can do while you're there on that trip to make it a little bit easier, right? They even have now, oh God, the name is escaping me. There's a cruise. It's a cruise line where they do cruises for families that have autistic children.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called like Autism on the Seas or something like that. And their staff is specially trained to work with children who have autism. Now, I know special needs goes way beyond autism, but this is just an example of like another way, because I think parents of special needs kids think all the time, like, oh, we can't do that. That's not an option for us. You have to plan for it, right? Or maybe it's not an option for you because you're not comfortable or you're not feeling safe. That's different. But we have to support one another in terms of, yes, you can. Jeff, you guys can do it. Definitely do it. I think that, take that step wherever it is that you want to go. And if I'm feeling hesitant towards something, like, you're saying to me, Renee, you've got this. You can do it. Yeah. And helping each other, because we shouldn't have to watch our friends and the world around us doing things and feeling like, oh, we can't because we have this in our life. No, we can. It might look a little different than what our neighbor looked like doing it, but we can do it all.
I'll tell you, again, right on the money, that is exactly how we felt after the first time we went. We came home. Again, we had this scene at the luggage carousel. You're stressed, and all you could think of is like, man, can we do this? Like, is this even worth it? And again, I'm just being perfectly honest and perfectly human. You start thinking about, like, gosh, it costs how much money to go here?
Right. I spent a fortune.
Did he even enjoy it? We enjoyed it, but you kind of always have that footnote. I'm, again, just speaking perfectly human here. And it took a little bit of will hunting to really dig deep and say, you know what? No, like I'm not going to give into that. We didn't plan it appropriately. So part of that was on us, but now we know we have a little bit of something more tangible that we can run with next time. And I will tell you, look, has it been smooth sailing every time? No, but it's been much different now that we have a little bit more equipment, few more arrows in our quiver to say, hey, I know how to handle that now.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody's going to have a hiccup on a trip. Bingo. I don't care if you have special need kids or not. Everybody's going to have a hiccup. And if you tell me that you went on a trip and all of your kids behaved perfectly and everything went perfectly, you are such a liar. Like, that is like, it's like the Facebook family. Like, oh, okay, let me look at all your perfect pictures. Guess what? They weren't. Those were like a nanosecond of time where they look like the perfect family, but they're just as messed up as the rest of us. Like, there is no perfect family.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important to emphasize that, like, we're all going through things. And that's why I think, not to keep like beating it to death here, but like, just like simple kindness, this sense of belonging, like these are pretty simple, but they're pretty powerful things that when used the right way, really can make a world of difference for us as a family, for the child, for the children, for the people that need the extra services. I mean it sincerely. It makes a big difference.
Because we could either use all of these like little obstacles that we have, and some obstacles might be bigger than others, but we could use those as excuses to never leave our houses if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? But what kind of life is that for us and for our children? That's not what we want. We want to get them out there. We want to expose them. And something might be a crash and burn because everything isn't going to be a super success, but that's okay.
And not to, pat myself on the shoulder, but that's why I started with, like, why is travel important? I want other people to have these experiences, to be able to have these same and maybe not the same point of view, but just to have that sense of fulfillment. There
that
should
they
never
can.
be a hindrance to that.
So I kind of like wrote some notes so that like there
Sure.
were things I wanted to touch upon because we wanted to talk a little like, you know, sort of targeted towards like Disney, right? And one of the things that I want to say is if you're a family that's, you know, thinking about Disney, just like how I talked about with the plane and prepping it, prep everything. And again, I guess it doesn't even have to be Disney. It could be wherever. Maybe you're
Yep.
going to the Bahamas. Prep with your child for the hotel, right? This is what our hotel looks like. This is the name of it. So then when you pull up, they're like, oh, like they feel like they recognized it, right? Because we already showed this to them and they saw it. Like, you know, and again, if it's a child who you're working with and has different cognitive, you know, delays, okay, well, I'm going to make it pictures, right? When my daughter was little, it was a picture of like clip art picture. You know what I mean? Like a little like picture. It was the castle. It was the tree of life for Animal Kingdom. Like I almost made like as icons to show her. And I made like a visual chart. Like this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're all done. It's almost like at school too. Like if they have like a PEX board, right? And they're Velcroed and stuff like that. We did it. It's finished. Maybe move it off the board. Cross it out. Put an X through it. That's done. Going through all of those things, even if it's a ride, I found that that was good because some rides are outside. So the child can see the ride and, okay, I'm going to go on it. I see what it looks like. That's what I'm going to expect. But that other ride is inside that building and I don't know what to expect and I'm scared. And it might be the best ride in the whole world and it might be super fun and geared towards little ones, but they don't know it and that building looks big and it could be scary and it might be dark in there and it might be loud and I don't know. But if I show them some YouTube videos at home or even the night before, I've even said to some parents, like, you're at your Disney resort, right? And tomorrow morning is Animal Kingdom or whatever. Tonight in the resort, pull out your iPad, pull out your phone, show a YouTube video. This is what tomorrow is going to look like. Oh, we're going to go on this. It's so cool. Look, we get in. Who do you want to sit next to? You're going to sit next to mommy or you're going to sit next to daddy on that one? You know what I mean? Like, and now they're not scared. They're excited. They're looking forward to it.
Right. Right. And they can go back to the things that you were talking about when you're going through it in the moment.
Exactly. So that preparing and planning, I feel like is for everything. If you're taking your kids to a water park, you know, you do it. I even have the teachers at school because they go on a lot of different trips for my daughter. And my daughter has high anxiety of like the unknown. This poor kid will start throwing up like you wouldn't believe. So now the teachers know. I said, I gave that to them as a strategy. We're going to go to the aquarium. They'll sit first with her and they'll go over a video of the aquarium. And this is what it's going to look like when we get there. And this is where we're going to walk. And you know, like now there's so much available just at our fingertips. So we might as well use it to our advantage.
Yeah. I love the collaboration piece. Patty and I were so big on that. Like, more communication is better. I'd rather have told you this 500 times. You're like, I know, I get it, than never say it at all.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said it so well in the beginning, like the techniques might change. Like we need to be up to speed on that. And again, it certainly applies here.
Oh my God. And as they grow, right, and they age and they're developing, the way you're planning will change with them and their abilities.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
do I do everything the way that I did it 10 years ago? Heck no. But I'm still doing it. It just looks a little different now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really believe that that's key. Or like, let's talk about like sensory things, right? So let's say, you know, the lady at the PTA meeting said, oh, you've got to go to Bibbidi Boppity Boutique and you got to get your little girl made up to be a princess. And they're going to put the dress on her and they're going to sprinkle pixie dust all over and she's going to have glitter from head to toe. And you're like, oh my God, I want my little girl to have this in the worst way, but she's got sensory issues and that glitter is going to make her itch and ruin my day. And what am I going to do? Well, you could still have your daughter become a princess, right? Maybe the dress is going to itch them because they have sensory issues with clothes and textures, right? All right, so then we're going to get, you know, a Princess Elsa t-shirt instead of the dress. Like you just, don't ever, I don't want families to ever think that they can't. You can.
Love that.
You
Yep.
can, you can. We just have to find a different way to get there.
Yeah.
And then your little girl or your little boy wants to be a pirate all day, they can be in their own way. Even if it's Halloween and we're talking about like sensory issues and clothes and feel and things like that. My daughter hates stuff on her head. You know what I mean? And how many of those costumes have things on their head? Okay, so let's just think of different ways to adapt it. Not to say that you can't. You can.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. And I don't I like we got to take can't out and say I can or I will or I'll try.
Love that. I absolutely love that. I told you we would try to keep it under an hour here. We're coming up
Did
to
we? I don't even know. I have no clock. I have no
I'm
sense
seeing
of
52
time.
minutes on my recording top. So I would say two things. One, anything that I miss, again, it's a conversation, so you kind of go in different directions if there's anything that you'd like to say. Also, too, if you'd like to make a plug for your travel work that you do for Disney in particular, by all means, shout it out.
I appreciate that. I'm on Facebook. You could find me, Renee Courtwright. I have a business page. I have a personal page. You could reach out to me anyway if you want any tips about, travel. I do only book Disney destinations, but I can talk to anybody and offer them tips. I'm never going to turn somebody away because you don't want to go to Disney, but you needed help with something. If I can help you, I'm going to help you. That's just what I'm going to do.
I learned that about you in about 5 minutes, just for the record. A couple text messages and 5 minutes into a 2-hour-long phone call is like, I have another best friend to add to my Rolodex here. This is great.
You know what it is? Like, honestly, Jeff, so I said my daughter is deaf and autistic, right? And my son is also autistic and he also has epilepsy. So we've got a lot of disabilities. We've got anxiety and we've got ADHD. We've got such a list of them, right? They're all fantastic in their own way. But one of the things that hit me the hardest was when my daughter lost her hearing at 2 years old. She was born hearing, profoundly deaf by 2 years old. And what I say all the time was she didn't just lose her hearing. We all lost when she lost her hearing. And we had to regroup and figure out how this was going to take shape. Every time a family gets a diagnosis, it isn't a diagnosis for the child, it's a diagnosis for the whole family. And the whole family has to regroup. When this happened to me with each diagnosis, after you get through the initial like shock of it, it's almost like the sticker shock when you buy the car, right? Like, oh my God. Then I would say, this happened to us for a reason, and I'm going to turn this into something good. And if I could help one family, then it happened to us for a reason.
Amen.
So that's it. So whether it's a tip for something in the classroom, a tip for something in Disney, a tip for something at home. Do I know it all? God, no. I know like such a little tiny bit, but I've tried a lot.
But that's exactly like what spurred Patty and I to even do this. It was, for us, it was the IEP process. I mean, there was a litany of things before, but it was that process. And we're like, we don't have all of the answers. No one does. But if we can create a platform for people to have those conversations, welcome the dialogue, whether I have the answers or not, to be a sort of shoulder to lean on, a sounding board. I can't emphasize enough. We were yearning for it. And I know that bits and pieces of it exist. You're not the only people to have thought of this, but it's exactly what we want to build here, is that sense of belonging, of community, because I don't have all the answers. I never will. But there's places we can go, people we can talk to, if for nothing else, just to say, hey, can I talk for a minute? Like,
that's it. That's it. Or like, even like when I'm looking for like a certain kind of doctor, right? Maybe we need different specialists than somebody else. Hey, I'm in Morris County. I'm in Essex County. Do you have somebody? Who'd you use? Oh, this was great. Oh, don't use that. Or even just like, oh, this restaurant was so good for us. Like little things.
Yep. Exactly.
It's like I think it's the Rockaway movie theater has sensory friendly movies, but the East Hanover AMC and the Morristown headquarters ones don't. So go to Rockaway. Who would know that? You know what I mean? Like
I
just like
didn't.
these little things. Okay, there's another tip. I just threw that one out
Another
there.
one. Another one. You're so right. Again, I'll ask if you have any other comments or anything. I have to do the plug. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Hannah would kill me if I didn't say that. We're only going to be as good as the community is. We want to be as wide-ranging as we can. We want as many people to join us on this journey as possible. Renee, we are certainly going to have you on for future topics. You're part of the family now.
Well, I was going to
You're part
invite
of the
myself
group.
on for future
Yeah.
topics. So,
There's 1,000 things we could talk about, but before we depart for this particular conversation, which I'm sure we'll talk about more in other mediums, any closing remarks you'd like to make?
just go. Take the trip.
Love
Take
it.
the trip. I don't
Take
care
the
where
trip.
it is. Take the trip.
That might be the title of the podcast. Take the trip.
That's it.
Well, Renee, thank you sincerely. I'm so glad to have met you. I'm so excited for all the things we're going to do together. And for everybody else, be sure to tune in to the next episode of the Branch Network podcast. Thanks again, and we look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.
Good night.